Welcome to the Seoul Patch Podcast, the podcast where three American expats explore different topics related to living and working in South Korea. With a combined 45 years of living experience in Asia, there are plenty of stories to tell. So, pop in your headphones and make yourself comfortable. It's time for the Seoul Patch Podcast.
My tainted perception distorts, my true meaning is blurred. I am lost to the echoes.
What I was thinking is that, as a teacher in Korea, a lot of the teachers have student debt. They come over here with some student debt, and one of their goals is to teach in Korea or to work here and save some money to pay down that student debt. And so
I knew a guy who he had that situation, but his goal was not to pay off his debts. It wasn't school debts. His goal was to run away from those debts. That's another thing too.
That is true. I mean, you're very far away, and if you're not worried about your credit score going down the toilet or anything, I guess you could theoretically, that would be a good place to run away to. I don't know. For me personally, that was my original goal, was to pay off my student loans. But I think what happened was I spent a little too much, from time to time. So I wasn't as frugal as I should have been. And so I thought maybe in my case, I think there's kind of two jacks. There was like the not able to save, kind of a spender. And then the later stage jack, which is a spendthrift, a saver, kind of a super saver guy. And I don't know, probably somewhere in the middle is healthier, but I'm kind of extreme. So it's one or the other for me. I don't know how you are.
Well, I felt that you got to back up a minute. I think for both of us, when we came to Korea, we had no idea we would be here for over a decade. Right?
That's true.
Right. So the first period when I arrived here, coming from Chicago, my rent, utilities, bills, etc., was pretty much the same. It was almost a wash, I think. The thing that was different was in Chicago, I lived in my own place for a little while, and then I lived in a townhouse with some other guys. Nice place, but I mean, the price was about the same. So I guess the point is, like, my expenses didn't really change much that way, but I spent a lot less when I arrived here. And I think most people coming to teach abroad, specifically teaching like ESL here, they're probably going to be surprised at how much money they save, because you're on this temporary, at least you think, like we thought, perhaps you're only going to be here for a year, maybe 2 years. So you're not going to hit up Ikea and get a new sofa. You're not going to,
right.
Just don't.
Yeah.
All those little things, they add up.
You might not even buy the electronics and stuff because, other than the computer, I guess, but back in those days, it wasn't even compatible. You're not going to bring a DVD player back to America,
Yeah.
It's just, so those kinds of things you often got like secondhand, or somebody, through someone, or.
Right. And if you do want it, you make a really frugal decision, because you just assume everything is going to be given away. So
right,
like I needed in my first place, I needed some chairs, like for the table to eat, like a dining room thing. And I mean, I could go buy some chairs. I could try to buy some cheap chairs, or I can go on Craigslist. And if I was in Chicago, what would I have done? I probably would have bought
garage
something.
sailing.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But here it's like you're also surrounded by a lot of other people that are transitory. Is that the way to say it?
Yeah,
so
not trans.
Yeah, like
it's possible, but yeah.
But you're hitting up people for stuff all the time. I still have one of my buddies. He left the country. He gave me all of his kitchen stuff, these really nice stainless steel mixing bowls. I think I have 4 of them, and they're all the same size, same weight, and so they're really nice. Like I use them on the scales and stuff, and whatever. They're just nice stainless steel bowls. I got that plus a bunch of other crap he left with me. he came back to the country, never asked for it back because he got stuff from somebody else. I
Right.
still have that stuff. It's still useful.
Yeah.
You know,
There,
And
my
so, free.
my Thailand guitar, the guitar I bought in Thailand, because I didn't bring my guitar, which was stupid, but I bought a little guitar, but I ended up loving that thing. That must have been passed around now, probably, 10 or 15 generations of expats now, because this is 20 years ago, just somebody's leaving and here, do you want a guitar? Yeah, I'll take a guitar. And then then they don't play the guitar and it sits in the corner until they meet somebody that does, and it says, oh, I don't have a guitar, here, have this one. And so it just becomes this really cool artifact that goes all the way back through these generations of English teachers,
I'm
sure
there was a guitar in our office on the Seoul campus, and I'm like 95% sure it belongs to the guy that I played in a band with, who was also one of our coworkers. And he hasn't been in the country for like 6 years. And so I saw it sitting in the office. It was like in storage. So I grabbed it and brought it home. I mentioned it to another coworker who plays guitar, and he's like, oh, no, that guitar belongs to this other guy. And I'm like, really? I don't think so. Like anybody was just taking possession of stuff. It was just sort of like, it was mine for a while. I was like, that's all right, so bring it back.
6 years in the office. That has no owner. That's just like,
it's quite possible the guy I was playing in the band with didn't own it either.
Right. It was just, I mean, now that I'm more settled into Korea, obviously, I've lived here for 20 years. I'm married and stuff. I have permanent stuff, this is my forever house, and I'm driving my probably forever car, or hopefully not my forever car, but just a lot of stuff we have is permanent. But when I was a new teacher, I just come here. I remember having like the crappiest sofa, but it was so comfortable. You know what I mean? Like it's just, and nobody cared. There's no judgment about that sort of stuff. So I remember walking on the street with a friend of mine. He was teaching in a school near where I lived, and somebody was bringing a sofa out at that moment, and we were looking for a sofa. So this one is like fresh out of the house, and the woman's like, look, it's totally clean. It's not that bad. It's got a couple of scratches and nicks, and maybe a little duct tape holding it together, the stuffing inside, but it's clean. Because these things, you don't want to take a sofa off the street that's been sitting out there for 3 weeks. It's got like a family of cats living inside of it or something. So we grabbed this one and brought it right back to his house, and it fit perfectly right in his apartment, and it was exactly his height, so he could lie down and have a nap. And it was just like it was just a home run. And the lady was happy because she didn't want to have to buy a sticker to throw it away. So she's like, sweet, I get to throw it away for free. We got a free sofa. And he, I was there to help him carry it back to his apartment. So yeah, it was great.
Yeah, there's a lot of some decent street finds. Both this house and the first place that I had in Itaewon, I had found really heavy dark wooden framed mirrors, and just coincidence for both places.
But not pressed wood, like real solid wood.
Nice.
Yeah.
I put both of them in my kitchen behind the bar. I got like a little espresso cocktail thing.
Yeah.
And for like the bottles and everything, it's just beautiful. They're huge. And they were street grabs. You do that in other cities too, but I want to go back to something you said that I think is, again, interesting for anybody that's considering jettisoning their current life and doing the teach abroad thing. The judgment. So if when you arrive in like the ESL community, if you're kind of burnt out on the materialism of modern life, you're going to find materialism in Korea and Seoul. Yeah. But if you're flowing in circles with other people or other teachers, or at least people that are understanding of where you're at, people who are around other teachers, it's really turned down. I had a buddy that he used a t-shirt for a pillowcase for like 2 years, and he wasn't like a grungy dude. Like that just like made sense.
He washed that t-shirt from time to time, He changed it.
Like it wasn't like trashy or poor. It was just like, that's a t-shirt for my pillow because that makes complete sense.
Yeah.
I'm not buying a pillowcase. I'm out of here.
Yeah.
you know? So that's kind of, and it was accepted like this, I don't know, this like sharing kind of economy. I didn't have really, man, I was leaving the country. I had made a decision to go back to the States like in 2018, 2017. Then I didn't pan out, and then COVID, blah, blah, blah. But during that time, I sized down all the stuff I did have, which just meant I gave away pretty much everything. And it was only just for COVID, we took this place. And now I have stuff.
You got stuff again. Yeah.
Yeah. Most of it's my girlfriend's stuff. Most of it.
Yeah.
She had a lot of stuff.
That's the funny thing is if you're into the minimalist lifestyle, I mean, you probably are it depends. Actually, it just depends on whether you're like a nester or like a nomad. You know what I mean? Like a nester is going to buy a bunch of stuff and they're going to make that little apartment cute and well decorated, and it's going to feel homey when you're and you could sit there and read a book. If you walked into my apartment when I was single, it would look like, does anyone live here? There's like a suitcase, you know, there's like clothes in the suitcase and stuff. Did you just move in 6 months ago? But you know, I'm still, you know, the suitcase is a perfectly fine dresser, you know, that'll work. You know, just those kinds of things that I don't know. I don't want to split it down the gender line, but you know, probably more of my female friends were nesters than the guys were. But yeah, as far as just like, as far as like saving money, if we're going back to the frugality thing, is you can't have shame about that sort of stuff. You can't be embarrassed to grab a sofa off the street, and you shouldn't be. Like it's totally
you shouldn't acceptable anyway. But.
Yeah, because you can buy a crappy one that's probably worse than the one that, you know, the ones that they throw away at these big apartment complexes. They're throwing away pretty decent furniture from time to time. It's just that they're upgrading because they're upper middle class or, you know, middle class people, and they want to have the newest, nicest sofa. And so they're getting rid of a perfectly good sofa, but there's not a lot of, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, there's not, like, used furniture is not super popular in Korea in general because of some of those superstitions surrounding other people's stuff, right? You wouldn't bring...
For sure. Like behind me here, this is an Ikea folding bed. It's really quick. It just pulls this way and the back folds down like that. It's like slam, and it's a full size like queen bed when it's folded like that. So when I was considering leaving or committed to leaving Korea, and I had sized down everything, I got rid of my other bed, which was huge and, you know, wasn't folding or anything, and I moved into like this really tiny, super efficient, like, what are those, like 110 square feet, like this tiny little shoebox, basically living in a van. And I needed something that was compact. So I did go to Ikea and I picked this up. Okay. So I used it there for a couple of years. And then when we got this place, my lease didn't line up quite right. And I thought, okay, well, you know, with the way that rents had been going, I'll sublet it. I'll make a buck. And I did, which was great. So when I sublet the place, I was about to throw this away, and the girl I was subletting to, she said, well, I don't have a bed. Can I just keep that? She goes, I'll give you like $100 or something. I don't remember what she paid me. She bought it. I think maybe it was like $150. I said, yeah, sure. That saves me the trouble, and $150. That's great. Yeah. So she took it and she used it for like the rest of the year. And then when she was moving out, she didn't want to get rid of it. So she's like, hey, did you want this? I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, what do you want for it? She's like, just take it. So yeah, so I rented my couch. Now it's back. Now it's in my studio, my office.
She paid you to borrow it. Yeah, she rented it, and then you just took it back again.
Because nobody else would want it. There's nothing wrong with it. It's always had like another like blanket kind of liner for when you're sleeping on top. It's pristine, and it's got storage in it, so it's great for the studio. Which is funny. It's that attitude, like that doesn't have value.
That's exactly right. I mean, I think don't get attached to your stuff here. You know, you have your main stuff like your computer and maybe and your phone, obviously, those kinds of things. But clothes wise, I guarantee you walk into a new apartment, if you're a Hagwon teacher, there's going to be stuff left over from the teacher before you, you know. Now a lot of it's just going to be garbage, but a lot of times you'll have like cups and glasses and all that sort of stuff is already just over the years, like you'll have like a beer stein from a whole bunch of different restaurants or bars that people just walked away with, put it in their purse, or their bag, whatever, and walked out. And so I mean, you don't have to worry about buying all that sort of stuff, the cutlery, and you're going to have that stuff already there.
Yeah,
I would say save your money. Don't worry about the appearance. Just hold on to your money and be thrifty. Like, go all the way. Really, like, lean into the thriftiness thing. And I'm trying to think of some other ways you could be like save money in Korea. I'm thinking, how about food wise? Like, what kind of recommendations would you give to somebody that's coming here as far as like food? Because I always say it's almost cheaper to eat out than it is to buy food and cook.
Yeah, well, that's one thing. From having traveled, I think, quite a bit, pretty well, and having lived in several large cities in the world, one thing I've always observed is that in the larger the city, it seems, the more dense the city, the more massive, the more expensive it is, but also there's ways to live extremely cheaply. Now, if you want to do that and be super frugal and you're in like New York or San Fran, it's not going to be terribly comfortable. So, and that's a sliding scale. Some cities, it works out better than others. Like Kuala Lumpur, you can spend lots of money there, but you can also live a pretty good life at a really big discount. Seoul, actually, I feel tips that way. You can live here quite well, despite it being one of the most expensive cities on earth.
And I think the rent price obviously skews whatever the measure that they use to say this city is expensive or not, because of Seoul's ridiculous real estate prices. I think it kind of skews the whole thing towards so it scares people that say, oh, this is like New York. No. If you have your apartment taken care of, and you have a subway ticket, that you can buy for $1.50 and go anywhere
So cheap.
It's so cheap. Transportation is super cheap. Food is cheap. Coffee is cheaper in Seoul. When I come into Seoul, I notice that I'm in Gyeonggi, but by the time I get into Seoul, there's so much competition there that they're, basically like $1 for an ice, cafe, ice Americano.
So good too. Like everybody's a roaster. I swear, like every coffee shop's excellent.
Yeah, it's like good coffee too. Exactly.
Yeah, but if you want, you can break the bank. So like, I spend quite a bit of time in Garosugo in these days, and for people that don't know, it's a very kind of expensive area, right?
You'll see a Ferrari or two if you spend time down there.
There's only sports cars.
Only sports cars, right?
Yeah, like if there's no cars less than 50 grand. And if I want to have a coffee in that neighborhood, the average cup of coffee is going to be like, I don't know, like $5 maybe. And it's very possible that I could end up in a coffee shop and order a latte and it's like $8, $9. Right. That's possible. But is that going to be your daily hit? Well, if that's really important to you, I guess. But
yeah,
otherwise, like you can go, get your coffee card, become a regular at the place downstairs from you, and your average price will be around $2.
Well, I lived in LA when I was in my early 20s, and I didn't go to Beverly Hills or Rodeo Drive to get my coffee. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like that wasn't on my schedule that day. I got it from the local barista or whatever, for a couple of dollars, because I was smart. You got to be a little bit clever about that sort of stuff here, but there's nothing to stop you from like buying a cheaper coffee one stop away from Apgujeong station for $1, and then just bring your coffee with you and just walk up and down the streets in the spring and summer and fall, and you still get to enjoy it.
Yeah. So like my point to that example is like, that's everything, right? Like, I mean, if we're on campus, there's student districts around every campus. So like on our campus, there are restaurants where, you can break the bank, but most of them, because they're made for students, man, what do you think? Like a kimbap or like a basic, I don't know.
Like a kimbap is, for our listeners that don't know, kimbap is like a rice roll, like a seaweed roll of rice with some meat in the middle, right? Some ham and some egg.
Yeah,
And
or
so
vegetables if you're vegetarian.
yeah, I would say one roll of kimbap is probably about $3 or
Yeah,
3.50.
I don't really eat them much, but yeah, it's
Yeah,
and that's enough food to be like lunch,
yeah.
right?
But in
So
a college area, you might get it for 2.50. So it might even be cheaper than that.
yeah,
In
and
a
in the college areas too, they also will make things kind of obnoxiously big, right?
yeah,
So it'll be like
right.
wood stuffed. Yeah, so if I really wanted to, I could go out to grab my lunch for under $5 every day. I don't, because I really like, as it's probably been stated overly too many times in this podcast, I like cooking and I like food, and I
Yeah.
live in a market. So markets are everywhere. That's a huge way to save money too.
Hmm.
uh,
That's a
there's
good
just
point.
fresh awesome stuff in your face, like outdoor markets everywhere.
And how do
I
you find?
love
I mean, they're kind of everywhere. So if wherever you live, I bet within walking distance, if you're in Seoul, you're within walking distance of a market, an open air market.
yeah.
And so I don't know how you would find it, but if you can't find one, I'm sure you could go to the nearest like big station, and there's going to be an outdoor food market there. And what you're doing is you're cutting out the middleman. You're just buying essentially vegetables straight from the farmer,
Mhm.
who's selling it in the market, or they're getting it. They have a close relationship with the farmer. They might not be the actual farmer, but it could be somebody related to them or something. And so
Yeah.
you're not paying that premium that you would pay if the big big supermarkets are going to charge you for the vegetables and fruit.
And if you want to take that one level further, so if you want to go one level further on the frugality chart, so every neighborhood basically would have has a market that's named after, like I'm in, Huam, there's Huam Xijang, there's Itaewon Xijang, there's Sangdo Xijang, and there's other ones that aren't named after neighborhoods, whatever. There are larger markets, and it's noticeable. There's signage that says this is the market. But if you poke around, you'll find in most neighborhoods, there's also just grocers, people selling stuff, and they'll have some of their stuff out on the street. Sometimes those people even have a better value, and I'll plug for these guys. This is a little plug for these guys because they have great product. They're really, really kind. And yeah, they're just sweethearts. If you go to Sangdo Station, next to our campus, exit 5, there is a produce seller. They also have some rice and grains and like different types of dried fish and seaweed, pretty limited, but they're produce. So they'll have like fruits and vegetables. They sell ugly fruit, and they'll do it by the basket, and they're just like chaos baskets. So they'll have like those plastic baskets. They have these extra big ones, and they'll have like peaches with carrots, with lemons.
But the carrots have like 2 heads or whatever. It's like two of them.
There's nothing wrong with it. They're just ugly.
They're just ugly.
When I was living in that neighborhood, I mean, you get that whole basket, it'd be like, $2, and it's crazy. I got way into making a lot of smoothies at that time, and I would do like vegetable with fruit smoothies and stuff. It was like free food basically.
Yeah.
And they always
that's
like
amazing.
sneak extra stuff into your bag and things.
Yeah,
like
if they see that you're a foreigner, they probably will throw you a little extra or something. Just smile and
yeah,
the ugly fruit basket.
And you get an extra, sweet potato.
That's brilliant. Yeah, that's awesome. I love that idea. I actually haven't seen that. I have bought some ugly fruit before, but never like a mixed basket like that. That's a really clever idea for them to come up with. Yeah.
Every once in a while, my grocer downstairs in the market, he's got stuff like that, but his is different. It's more like it's over the limit. It's like it's bruised and it's dying.
They're like you could make banana smoothies out of it, but you wouldn't want to eat the banana. Yeah.
But yeah, this guy, they would be decent stuff. It's just deformed.
Yeah.
So broken carrots that you're getting for a tenth of the price. It's ridiculous.
So if you're big into cooking, and here's another thing, you can go to Dongun. Dongun means carrot, and there's a website, is it an app, or how would you describe that? What is Dongun?
The marketplace.
A marketplace, in kind of an online app store marketplace where you can find in your area people that are selling things. So something I'm looking for right now for myself is I want a slow cooker, a crock pot. And so, because if you're into cooking, but you leave in the morning to go teach your classes or whatever, you just throw the vegetables in from the market, you let it cook all day long, you come home, you've got a beautiful stew there that'll probably last you several days. I mean, it's not that you can't cook, and you could probably find a slow cooker for, $20 or something on Dongun, $20-25. So again, buying used stuff, even in that online marketplace, is better than going to Hi-Mart and paying, I don't know, exorbitant amounts of money on a brand new crock pot that you're going to have to leave anyway, because you can't be on the plane with a crock pot. I'm pretty sure that is a banned substance, right? Like on a plane. I don't know.
Not sure. Another thing to consider too, if you're coming from abroad and you've got kind of a choice to make, like your nation's foods might be a little overpriced here. Like, okay, like look at pizzas. Pizzas here are quite expensive, compared to home. One of my friends is from Spain, and every time I pass like a Spanish restaurant, he's always laughing. He's like, "You got to be kidding!" Like paella, $50. The hell's this?
Yeah.
So you've got a choice to make. Like if you're hung up on that and you've got to have like your own foods, which is totally cool, you're gonna end up probably breaking the bank if you're gonna go out for tapas every evening. But that means you could learn how to cook for yourself. It'll kind of inspire you to do it. Just like financially, you just end up in that category. That happened to me. There was a lot of foods that I missed and was like, I can't. I don't mind going out for it sometimes. So it's like, man, I could just do this myself.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, try to explore Korean foods because they're amazing, and there's so much.
We're covering such a diverse number of personality types. When I speak, I'm speaking of myself as like a person who doesn't cook or didn't cook when I was single and had no interest in it, and I just needed some energy to survive. So whatever I walked past on my way home, I would eat. A lot of kimbap. It wasn't a very healthy lifestyle. Now that I look back on it, I could have eaten a lot better. Even just Korean food. There was a lot of healthier options that I wasn't choosing at that time, even though it was available to me. I just kind of went for the simple thing that I knew existed, and I went back there every time. But yeah, if you're really into Western food, I would say you can still cook. But what about cheese and those kinds of things, like tortillas and stuff? Would you recommend like Costco? Do you think that's a good investment?
I made tortillas just last night. We had taco night, so I bought just like corn flour. You can I don't know where my girlfriend does all the shopping online. So, but it's like Quaker brand or something. I think it's an American brand. But so for stuff like that, I just go ahead and make it. Tortillas, you can buy tortillas in the market. They have lard in them. Like I think a lot of tortillas do. I think now there's a lot of vegan tortillas. I think I looked at this a while ago in like America, in the shopping world outside of Korea, or like if you want to like order. But in the market, there's basically one brand. You've seen them, right? It's got the green, yellow label.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Dominating the tortilla game for some reason. But those ones, they're going to have, I think they have some animal fat in them. So if you're not into that, heads up. And it's a pretty damn easy thing to make. I never made tortillas, maybe once or twice in America. But now it's something I can make really quick because I love burritos and I love tacos
and you can find minced pork anywhere, any what do you call it? Like I forgot the name of it. Meat, like a butcher. Sorry, that's what I was trying to come up with. I just couldn't think of the word butcher. I was gonna say bakery, but I'm like, it can't be. It's not a bakery. Yeah, it's a butcher.
That doesn't make any sense.
No. You go to the butchers. You can get minced pork. Now, if you are vegan in Korea, it's going to be a challenge, right? I mean, 20 years ago, I had a coworker that was vegan, and so the Hagwon that we worked at used to give us lunch for free every day. We'd go up in this little kind of cafeteria area, and we would eat lunch, and the cooks would make us lunch. And so we explained to the cook in Korean with a translator, there's no meat in this soup, right? And she's like, nope, there's no meat. There's no chicken. There's no pork. There's no beef. There's no meat in there. And so my friend takes a spoon of the soup, and right in the spoon is, Flipper, a little melchi, a little sardine,
Right.
floats right up to the top there. And she's like, oh, that's not meat, that's fish, and it's like,
Well,
oh.
even on the menus for kimbap, isn't like yache kimbap, the vegetable kimbap, has ham in it.
Yeah, right. Yes.
Right? 'Cause ham's not vegan.
Ham's not vegan. Although
yeah,
I wonder how much actual meat is in the ham though. But
yeah, they might be more right, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, touche.
Yeah.
But
No.
I think, I was vegan for a little while here. I have a passion for food and diet, and it was like experimenting. And I've been vegetarian for long periods here. I've had 2 close friends who've maintained vegan diets here. But in one of them, it's very, it's not just like ethical for him. It's like absolutely foul, like the concept of eating animal products.
Yeah.
He would throw up. So it's like, so he has to truly avoid it. But even in that case, I know both of them have had to have like either made mistakes or like, because sometimes you just don't know. Like a lot of people might assume kimchi, it's just cabbage, right? And chili
But there
peppers.
isn't the catalyst some kind of
The catalyst usually is like seiyujut, so it's like brine shrimp.
Yes.
That's your like fermentable, or there's another type of like that uses raw oysters that get rubbed into it.
Raw oysters.
There's stuff like this. It's all just kind of hiding everywhere. There's fish sauce in so much.
Eggs in noodles. How do you know these noodles aren't, these rice noodles, or are these egg noodles? You're not quite sure.
Yeah. So we're kind of going off subject here from the frugality thing. But
Right. Sorry. Yeah.
It's still relative. Like if you're going to pursue again, if you have like a food or diet behavior tradition that you want to bring and you're traveling anywhere in the world, you're probably going to have to get really creative, maybe learn how to cook for yourself, or get ready to shell out money. So there's restaurants here that are vegan. But you're gonna pay a premium for it.
You're gonna pay, for that. So I would say if the theme of today's podcast is frugality, definitely learn how to cook. Even just invest in a slow cooker, because just you throw it in there, boom, turn it on, it's all done for you by the time you get home. And those are available. You can find that sort of stuff here. Even rice cookers can be used as a slow cooker. So you can even use a rice cooker that way.
Everybody has rice cookers too. Everybody.
Everybody. So you could get one used, a decent one for $10 or $15 on Carrot. I think I would remember that app. If there's one thing you take away from today's podcast, think about that app when you get here. The other place where, this one is obvious, and but I think we'd be remiss if we didn't bring it up. But money on drinking, like drinks, can be quite expensive. I think that's probably for a lot of like younger Hagwon teachers, that's where the money will fly. On the weekend, like a Friday night or a Saturday night, you'll be able to drop a pretty penny. I think
especially if you're trying to get things that you're again more familiar with, like we could talk like beer for 1 second. That's like a standard on earth, a lot of places. So if you drink the local swill here, you'll pay the price you pay for like a Budweiser well, probably not. Like America's so cheap for alcohol, but it'll be whatever. But if you want to have like an IPA and you're in a nicer neighborhood, doesn't even need to be like ritzy, but if you're looking for a pint, you might pay over $10 for a pint. That's a thing. That's a thing.
Like a Guinness or something like that. You're gonna pay. It's gonna be $8 or $10 at the bar. I'm assuming. Now something that you can a good hack here is that something happened in the last, I would say 10 years, maybe 15 years, where convenience stores kind of converted themselves into makeshift bars in a big way. So there's a lot of, and this comes down to how much judgment from other people are you willing to absorb, I guess, like for being like a cheapskate or whatever. Like for me, I wasn't too worried what other people were thinking, and neither were my friends. We weren't too stuck up about that stuff. So we would go to the convenience store, and inside the convenience store you could buy beer, especially if you're drinking the local swill, very cheap. You get a tall can for a couple bucks.
Yeah. And another nice thing about that too, I like the convenience store kind of scene because it's, what do you call that? Like, it's just the blue collar everyman place.
Yeah,
and
it's your corner bar
wanna,
now,
Yeah, right. But if you don't want to drink, it's also really nice. So if you're meeting your friends and you want some place just to meet before going to dinner, and you want it to be really neutral, but you don't want to go to like a coffee shop, you want to be able to like talk loudly and like be together and see people coming as they come up the street, if you're gathering a crowd. The convenience store hangout's really nice because you don't have to drink. You don't need to drink alcohol. There's everything. It's a convenience store. The convenience stores here,
you can chew bubble gum, whatever you want. But
the convenience stores here, I think compared to like Chicago, you've got more options for what to eat as well.
Yeah.
They'll have sweet potatoes often, like on the rocks.
Yes.
Yeah. So go get yourself a sweet potato.
Yeah. Just cooking on some
water.
it's brilliant. You could any kind of hot noodles, instant noodles. They've got the hot water right there with the chopsticks, and they got a garbage bin so you can throw away your garbage. Every kind of, fruity drink, diet drinks, it's gotten so much better.
You want some dried squid? You got lots of dried squid.
Dried squid, yeah. I mean, potato chips.
Of dried squid.
This is you'll hear about it because I guarantee it. Like the convenience stores are the new speakeasies. Like where's the cool one that everybody's hanging out at? And you're probably wondering right now, how do you hang out at a convenience store? Well, they put a lot of picnic tables outside of it. So on the sidewalk, they put the picnic tables and chairs, or sometimes they have those circular tables with a big cover, a big umbrella, so it'll keep the sun out of your eyes and stuff. So yeah, it's a cool little scene. I do appreciate it for its kind of thriftiness, and
the quality's been going up too. Like I'm surprised to hear you say like this is a newer thing. You've been here longer than me, so the convenience store, like as a hangout, with the little patio like thing.
Was it always like that? So for you,
since I've been here, yeah.
Okay,
like, I just so it's kind of cool to think about it being like growing. But now that you mention it, I've noticed that the quality of those scenes, they've taken it up a notch. Like there's a 7-Eleven that went in next door to me pretty much 6 months after we moved in here. So it's about 18 months old. And the old couple that built it, I think they're in love with their property. It's so detailed. Like it's most cleanest 7-Eleven you've ever seen in your life. Like
I love that. I love it.
It looks new every day.
Yeah.
You walk in, they smile, it's like this. It's like a little country, whatever. But their patio, they built a really nice patio. It's like a cool place to hang out.
It's like I bet I can tell you what it looks like right now. It's like if somebody back in Minnesota or Wisconsin built a wood deck, something like that, right? Yeah, we have one right down the street. They built it out and put a nice deck, almost like like something off somebody's back porch, and you can just hang out there. Yeah, it's amazing. They're brilliant.
The scenery is nothing great, but I've had nights where like if it's like nice weather, not like now in the winter, but meeting friends, and if it's like after dinner or whatever, you might just go there, get a coffee, get a beer or whatever, and we just stay there. Stay there. Like someone pulls out their phone, blasts the tunes. You can kind of dominate it, because another thing that's cool is, while the convenience store, I'm like hyping it up, is like there's a lot of stuff there. It's still a small joint. There might just be like 2 tables, and you might just run the whole scene. It's your place.
That's true. But as long as you're buying drinks, the mom and pop are all smiles. Like they're.
I don't think you'd really ever you can't get kicked out of a convenience store. I mean, come on. Like, get off my
That's a pretty
patio.
low. Yeah, that's
Yeah, if that happens, then there's a different problem going on.
you have something else. Yeah, right.
Maybe
Yeah, so I'm glad we talked about that, because I think that I want to paint a picture for those who are of our listeners that are overseas, that are maybe thinking about coming to Korea, or maybe have secured a job but they haven't actually arrived here yet. Now that COVID is kind of well, it's fired up, but it's dissipating in a way. I think the COVID fatigue is set in. So anyway, those that are coming over here, just to get a kind of a picture of what it's like to go out here. You don't have to break the bank. It's not, going to the clubs and going to the bars. But even in the bar scene, I would say if you're drinking the local beer, whatever, which would be either OB, Cass, or Height, I guess. Those are the three big ones. What is a pint go for these days? $3? Is it still? It used to be $2.50 back in my day, but it's been a while since I've been there. Maybe $3 or $3.50. So
in the convenience store or in a
in an actual bar, in a pub.
Oh man. Either way, I don't know what the.
It's definitely under $5 though. I would say probably.
Yeah, I seldom drink the Korean beers, except like what is my one of my buddies and I, whenever we go out for dinner, we always have Terra.
Oh yeah, I know that one. Yeah,
the newer one. Yeah, but that we always have it. That's not like a bar. That's like when we go out for gogi. That's for dinner.
Yeah.
So I think you pay more then.
Because I remember it used to be
maybe bucks.
It used to be $2.50, but now I think maybe a pint. It probably is $3.50, something like that. So it's pretty cheap. You can still get a beer for now. If I'm totally off base here for our listeners that are here and go out from time to time, just send us an email and tell me I'm wrong. I'll issue a correction during the next podcast. But
yeah, and even then though, if you crawl around, if your mission is just like, hey, we want to party tonight, we've got a group of people, and we want everybody able to have a good time, get whatever they want, go online, read some reviews. You'll find a place that's like the place that's got the reasonable prices for what you want to do. It's just the place is so dense. That's the thing I'm emphasizing. Like whatever you want to do, just like we talked about hobbies and stuff.
Yeah.
When you're in a place this dense with this many people, this much energy, you're gonna find what you want. If not, you haven't looked hard enough. Yeah. But let's go back to some other things that people can look at for saving a buck, or look forward to saving a buck, or for people that are already living here, things maybe you want to consider. One thing that I avoided when I first came to Korea, to Busan, was taxis. In my brain, I just associate that with, if I get in a taxi, that's going to be, plus the tip, it's like $25 just to, wherever I'm.
Because that's what LA is like in Chicago. You get in a taxi, you're going to spend at least $15. I mean, just to get out of their taxi once you're in, So
yeah, and then I discovered that taxis here are so cheap, and then I overcorrected my behavior and just like spent all my money on taxis. I was like, this is amazing. I'm like a millionaire.
I don't even need a taxi right now. I'm just going to go around the block a few times. Come back.
And there's so the taxi, it's so dense, you could just grab a cab anytime, and it's like I just got to run like 1K over here, it's like taxi. It's like, dude, come on. You don't need that taxi.
yeah But it's so cheap. I kind of got that out of my system in Thailand, but I know exactly what you're talking about. It's just you don't expect things that I guess I'm trying to think of some other things that you think are expensive, but they won't be expensive here. So here's another thing that's expensive in the States, but is not expensive in Korea, is the tailor. If you need, if you need your clothes, I don't know, if you want to make your jeans tighter or looser or whatever you want to do, modify your clothes or whatever, sew on a button. It's so much cheaper here than in the States. I can't, and also so is dry cleaning. It's just much cheaper.
I've got a good tip for that one. If you like, most people know, like if you're in Korea, a lot of places in Asian cities, you can go to a tailor and get suits made. And we could talk about that. It's really cheap to get suits made here, but still you're going to pay money to have suits made. It's not the cheapest way to get clothes.
It's not going to be $1,000, but it's going to be, it'll be a few $100.
Yeah, right. But something I did initially when I came here, before I knew I was going to stay here and have a career, and then I invested in like in my wardrobe and stuff. if you just buy a shirt that fits reasonably well, you can like buy a shirt for $10. That's like $15 maybe. It fits reasonably well. Take it to a tailor and they'll sort it out for you. They'll make it custom fit for a few bucks more. I did that with I think like 5 or 6 shirts, and that was my work wardrobe.
Yeah, right.
Such
Because
a-
you
such a
often,
good hack.
what are the chances if you buy that dress shirt that it's going to fit you perfectly? It's not.
Yeah.
And you're going to bring it to a tailor in America and they're going to charge you $25-$30 to tailor that thing up. And now you're in, you know, I don't know, $60 deep into that shirt. You know, you paid 30 for it and it costs you the same. It's so much cheaper here. They do it for like $5, $3 to $5. They'll modify
Yeah,
for you. Yeah.
I had my size, like Korean sizes are like, you know, like there's like 90, 95, 100, 105,
Yeah.
110, 115. I'm 100-ish.
Oh,
So
nice. You're right in the
Yeah.
pocket there. Yeah.
And if you know you're going to tailor the shirt, you really don't even have to like worry about it fitting perfectly. It's just like, I'm just going to grab whatever's 100. Usually the collar's a little too tight and the sleeves are like a little short. That's like the 2 problems I have.
Yeah.
And so I just take it to the tailor and easy
Fantastic.
peasy. Cheap.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's other, you know, going to the doctor. Don't be, you know, don't
we haven't
be
talked about
hesitant. And I think we might have talked about healthcare at some point, but I had an aversion to going to the doctor because I come from America. You know, we're all suffering PTSD from that healthcare system. You know, like we're afraid to go see a physician because we think we're going to get a bill for $10,000. You know, it's not like that here. If you have the insurance, if you have health insurance, you're going to pay $4 or $5, and your medicine is going to be $3 or $4. I mean, you're talking about the whole thing is going to cost you $10. If you don't have insurance, you're probably still going to spend less than 30 on everything.
Or if your visit doesn't, I mean, it depends on which clinic you go to, but if you don't need like treatment or things, if it's just like checking in, man, I think I pay less than $2. Like I went through this little episode. I was training for a run and I blew up my knee and I ended up like on crutches for a while, and I was going back and forth with this doctor a lot and became friends because I was just hanging out there so much.
Yeah.
And I don't know where it started, but I was like in the neighborhood and I thought, hey, I just pop in and say hi. So I visited him and he's like, what's wrong? I'm like, nothing's wrong. I feel great. I just wanted to see how your golf scores are going. You know, he's a golfer. And so we shoot the shit. We have like a cup of tea sometimes. I do that probably about every other month.
Yeah.
I just go and visit him because he's my buddy. And like, he's like, so you feeling okay? Like, I mean, usually we don't even talk about my health. It's just like, and it's costing me to see my buddy. Like, I think it's like $1.70 or something. You know? But if I'm passing by, it's like, oh, I'm gonna go see Doc. You know?
Oh, you go and actually visit him, like visit
I just
the doctor.
walk in. We got this understanding now. So like, it's supposed to be for appointments in this clinic, but I don't make an appointment. Like when I show up, they just kind of bump me through.
They just bump you through. Wow, that's fantastic.
You gotta only hang out for like maybe 5-10 minutes. It's just like, hey, what's going on?
That's very cool. That is very cool. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that I love to hear, you know, because
would you ever have that in the States, even if you were really
so.
close with your friend? If the doctor is like really close friend, you wouldn't. You would
never go to their place of work. It would just be too awkward. It wouldn't be. But for some reason, that story doesn't surprise me here. Like because I think it's something to do with the neighborhood, the local. There is still that each dong has its own little, you know, kind of vibe and presence, and so you pop in and say hello to your neighbor. It's a very cool vibe in Seoul. Once you live here, you're part of that little community. And so
they have a vitamin shop that I used to go there. I think that's actually how we picked up the routine. Was I would go to the vitamin shop like every month basically, and if the clinic didn't look terribly busy, I would just walk up and be like, yo, to see the doctor, and then I'd just sit down. And they would call me in. And so it's I feel like it's the way it should be.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, it should be that way. I agree. Is there anything that's like really expensive that should be cheap? You know, something that's kind of like surprisingly expensive. I'm trying to rack my brain right now. What's that?
Razors. Both of us shaving guys, razors. That one kills me.
I go through those like water. It's crazy. I'll tell you what though, here's something. If you go to like a mall or department stores are very expensive. So if you're going to
Yeah.
go clothes shopping at a department store, you're going to pay a premium for this stuff. It's kind of known that people that shop at department stores have money. Like it's if you go, you know what I mean? Like
The experience.
yeah, it's quite expensive. And there's oftentimes you can find things on home shopping that are exactly the same as being sold at, like, let's say you go to the Nike shop, you're going to pay a lot for a pair of Nike shoes. A Nike sweatshirt is going to cost you $100. I mean, easy. In America, that would not be 100. I don't think. So, but there are ways that you can, if you go to home shopping and stuff like that, you start to get into that and figure out ways to like go online and look for some of the home shopping specials. You can find a lot of stuff that's right from those Nike stores or Adidas stores, but it's sold for maybe half the price that you would buy it in the shop. So, you know, try to avoid, if you're trying to be frugal and you want to save money, try to avoid the department store. Find other ways to, you know, even ordering online is better.
Yeah, ordering online, that's we should definitely include that really quick. The one thing that I know a lot of foreigners, even myself, like kind of reluctant to pick up is, you know, downloading new apps and, you know, credit card information and all this stuff. Not because like general reluctance, but because these websites are in a foreign language and you need to like have certain plugins to make the thing work, and you're not familiar with that. So it can be really frustrating, but the value is there. And like getting a neighbor account, highly recommend. Neighbor shopping is great. Like Dangun, Carrot.
Yep.
You get some great deals there.
You can even Amazon delivers to Korea, which is,
I use my Amazon account here.
So you can use Amazon. I buy stuff from AliExpress sometimes. It's hit or miss whether the quality of it is, but it's cheap, you know. It's and that first time you pull the trigger with your credit card is a little scary, no matter what it doesn't matter which market it is. Just but once you do it and the thing comes, you get that peace of mind, you know.
Well, speaking of like the department store thing, I would go to the department store to check things out, and then you can just take a picture of what you liked. Then you go home, you go on neighbor shopping, and there it is.
100%. That's what my wife told me the other day.
Usually the same object.
That's what people do. They go to the Adidas shop, they go to the Nike shop, you find it, you do the shop, you do the grunt work, you know, you do the reconnaissance. Yeah. Then you come home and then you take the shot, you know, from home on the computer, and you'll probably save yourself 40%, 45, 50. You might get it half price. And
if you don't mind the hassle too, you can also roll the dice and, you know, just order straight up, don't go shopping at all, and then deal with returns and stuff. The systems for ordering online here versus, I shouldn't make a comparison. I don't know well enough. I've been gone for so long. Yeah, same. But the like Dawn delivery with Coupang, we use that like 5 days a week. That's incredible. Like we'll be going to bed and it's like, hey, what do you want to do for dinner tomorrow? And it's like, oh, I need some mushrooms. I go downstairs and get some mushrooms, but you know, she's already making an order or whatever, and it's like they're on my porch when I wake up.
That's insane. It is really
it's a crazy service.
Yeah. It's so yeah, I mean, I feel like we covered a lot of things today, and we talked about frugality, but we also talked about kind of the ease and convenience of living in Seoul, like just how easy it is, and how, I mean, if you don't have to, I think ultimately, if you don't have to pay for your apartment, if you're given a free apartment, that's a huge, that leaves you with a lot of money, I think, to like a lot of ability to save money right there. I mean, you could live off half of your salary. Let's say you make $2 million a month. If your rent is paid for already, you could live easily on $250 a week, right? I mean, you could probably live quite well on that, I imagine. I don't think that's not too frugal, would it?
It all depends on how you want to slice it. I mean, I've got a friend who he left here, but he was a freegan, and this was like his paradise, because people just throwing away things that still have value, and there's just so many ways to cut corners. For me personally, I don't feel like I made any lifestyle concession. yet, and I don't think my life in Chicago was economically stressful.
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely, and I don't want to talk about like specific numbers and stuff, because you and I, we both work at the same place and whatever, and we're not being almost public, but I do make less money here than I did in Chicago, or would if I had continued. Absolutely.
Sure.
However, my savings potential here is so much better. I'm
Yes.
probably awash or doing better on my savings because I'm here, and the general stress of dealing with money. And I wasn't like stressed about it really, but here it's just turned way down. Everything is just seems so much easier to solve. I don't know how to explain that.
I know what you mean. And I think that has to do with like, that's what a functioning bureaucracy feels like. You know what I mean? In many ways, it's like it functions, things flow, you know, they're not all stopped up, and there's not a lot of, and also everything's streamlined. You know, it's all done through the computer. And so you just press buttons, and you don't have to write checks out and put them in the mail and send them off or anything. It's all just, you know, shooting money out from your bank account or putting it into your bank account. Yeah, I mean, that side of Korea is fantastic. It's so convenient.
It's very fluid. It's very fluid.
Yeah. And I had a friend once, a guy that I taught with way back in the day before you came to the university. And he said, he told me, here's the only thing you need to know about money. It's not how much you make, it's how much you save. And so it's you know, I remember that. It's exactly right. It's, if you can save, you know, you could live in Los Angeles and I could make, you know, double what I'm making now, but I'll be spending triple to maintain the same lifestyle that I'm able to have here. So I mean, just don't be scared by that.
What's that saving about? I mean, the past years of COVID, not really doing much. I mean, I would say half of my savings potential goes out the window to travel, right? Because that's like such a huge part of
right, because you prioritize that at so at a certain level.
Without having that, I mean, it's like I have a spare 2 years extra of savings right now because of COVID, just because I haven't gone out of taken a flight.
Kind of interesting to have to do that experiment. You're kind of forced into an experiment that kind of elucidated something for you. It's like, oh wow, okay, so that's I mean, you'll still do it, but I'm sure you probably think about it now in a different way.
Oh, yeah, I did have a moment where I sat back and I started thinking about, like, you know, wow, that was like, I do spend way more than I thought on travel. My travel budget is such a huge percentage of my income. But fortunately, looking at it in reflection, it's like, but I want to. Like that's as necessary to me as paying rent or buying, like, you know, toilet paper. It's a thing that
absolutely.
That I do. And it's not like I've over budgeted that category at all. So I think the summary should be, if you're leaving the States, depending on your debt situation, I suppose, you can do quite well here for a little bit less than what you might expect, because there's just cheaper ways to live well here.
Absolutely. And I don't be scared by that, you know, world's most expensive cities index, because I think the Seoul one is kind of skewed by you're not buying property here. You're not paying rent. If you're teaching at a school, they're giving you a place to live for free. And that's a huge amount of free money right there. And so the rest is just basically spending money. So I think for those in America that are listening to this podcast, and you want to kind of knock out those student loans, come to Korea for a couple of years and just work on it, just grind it out, and you'll be free. You know, it's a great feeling, you know, when you pay those off. So, well,
you should also put in the end here, again, for anybody listening, I think you guys know by now, if you've listened to a few of our podcasts, we're pretty candid people. Like, if you have any questions about this, if you're planning on coming here, like some of you have, email us. We don't mind sharing more specific details and stuff if you have like a specific question. It's fun.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. You can hit us up at podcast@thesoulpatch.com, and that goes right into our main inbox. And anyone that writes us, we're happy to reply, and we can even mention it on the show. and give our advice. You know, we're like you said, we're pretty candid people. So yeah, hit us up. You can visit our website, thesoulpatch.com, if you want to just stream the episode. You got all the all access to the YouTube channel, Google, Spotify, Pandora, all the major platforms, Apple Music, Apple Podcasts, obviously. If you want to do us a huge favor, you could go into Apple Podcasts and actually write a review for us. That will bump us up in the algorithms or whatever. I'm not sure how to articulate that.
Help us out.
Yeah, the more reviews the better. So if you guys could just take a minute or two to do that, we would really appreciate it. You can watch us on YouTube as well if you want to see our faces. And also, if you want to smash that send coffee button, and if you have, the funds to do so. If you don't, please don't feel.
I like to pay a couple respects to the people that made me what I am today.
I'll leave it there.
It's all my love.
The
quiet man. It's all my love.
Take care, everybody. See you next time. Bye-bye. Dopamine.
Jim. It's all my love. It's all my love. It's all my love.
The brain.
It's all my love. It's all my love.
Hey, Bobby.
Let the bass go.
Call me an eater, call me a dominant. Long face.
It's all my love. It's all my love. It's all my love.
Obsolete.
It's all my love. It's all